This is great. See, we're already having fun. Okay, so we are live on Association Chat, and I'm so glad that you're with us. I'm sorry for the little bit of delay, but we were having a good time.
We were having a great time.
We were figuring out what it was that we were going to share with you about all of the wonderful experiences and great ideas. We just came back from the Association ASAE.
Great Ideas Conference.
I just said the American Society of Association Executives like 5 times right before this. I've only belonged to it for like 14 years. And the great ideas at the wonderful Broadmoor in Colorado Springs, Colorado. And now we're sitting in the studios at Image AV, Image Audiovisuals. And I'm here with Tracy Betts. And Tracy you were a presenter.
Yes.
And it was on the Innovation Toolbox. And you're also the CEO of Boldr, and it's Boldr
Strategic
Consulting.
Not Boulder, Colorado.
Not Boldr, Colorado. Boldr, Boldr. It's a bold move.
Thank you for getting that. That's exactly what it is
Boldr.
about. Bold moves.
So bold moves. And I invited Tracy here because not only did she have the experience of being a session leader, but she also experienced the entire conference.
For the first time.
Was it the first time?
This was my first Great Ideas conference.
I did not know that.
Yeah. Fresh perspective.
Oh, it gets better. So what I thought we would do is just talk about, what your experiences were, what my experiences were, some of the takeaways that we had, and to talk about, was it innovative? What was innovative that was there? What were some of the best things that we experienced? And then what were some of the things that could have been a little bit better? I also want to talk about the people. I want to talk about some of the conversations that we had. So that's a lot, I know. But for those of you who weren't here, I think it's just better if we can have this conversation, be a little chill, and be able to have a good time and share some of the great takeaways. So Tracy, I'm going to point this right at you. That's why you're here. So this was your first time coming to Great Ideas. Overall, what was your experience?
I loved it. It was, so there were a couple things I expected to happen that did not happen. But overall, I felt like the attendees at Great Ideas, so I've been to a few ASAE conferences, right?
Right.
The tech conference, national. I felt like this group of people that chose to go to this conference were more naturally, they were people that were studying very specific topics. And they were very interesting, and they were interested people. So I think that the conversation surrounding the conference was so much more provocative than some of the other meetings that I've been to.
I agree. I mean, I'll say I've gone to like maybe 5 of these Great Ideas. Wow. And so I've gone to the ones that have been here. I've gone to ones that have been in Florida. And it has been one of my favorite ASAE conferences. And the reason why is because it is smaller than the annual.
Yeah.
You have a chance to have deeper conversations. But I'll tell you, I over the past few years, I had started to not go to as many sessions, and I would spend more time in the hallways, which everyone says is really good, especially if you're in business for yourself. You want to be building business. Those conversations and connections are important. Yeah. But this year I came into it and I actually wrote down most important thing today. I took notes, you guys. Most important thing today, connection and community at Ideas. And I wanted to try to go to as many sessions and really be fully present in the sessions to see what I got from it.
Yeah. Yeah.
So that's why I think this year is the perfect year to talk about it and really break it down, because I did check out the content,
Did any of your sessions have, I was expecting more, technology is driving, and the pace of technology is driving this need for greater innovation. And I guess what I loved about this conference was the focus on, how to get a team of people or how to get individuals to think more innovatively. I loved that focus. But I was surprised that I did not see if the topic was innovating your innovation, I was surprised I didn't see, okay, well, we've innovated by using even chatbots or, you know, other forms of IA or, you know, Alexa.
Yeah.
And I didn't see any technical examples.
It
and
is,
so
and that is interesting.
Did you?
So, no, it was more like, I think more from a conceptual, you know, looking at the frameworks, looking at the thought process, looking at design thinking, which is good. But you know what? I'm so glad that you brought that up, because I hadn't really thought about what was necessarily maybe missing. And that would have been an interesting track.
I would have loved that.
Well,
I really wish that they would take that.
And I wonder if, that's interesting. I wonder if the idea was, well, that would be more of a tech thing.
Which they're siloing it, right? I feel like they keep trying to silo that tech conference. Sorry, I'm not trying to.
No. This is I mean,
I've never run a meeting myself.
Right,
so.
And it's interesting because, like, I think that people don't understand how difficult it is. Like, I don't understand how difficult it is to put together a meeting. But, like, I mean, it's not exactly, it's kind of armchair discussion here. Yeah, I mean, like, what if they kind of brought these things together?
Yeah,
kind of, you know, and
I
had
think
this.
If they took that tech conference,
that's so
and
fun.
I
like that.
Wouldn't it be good?
Yes.
And then combined it.
Well, you know, and there are so many interesting technologies that can innovate for associations that it does seem natural. And in fact, if technology got brought up, I mean, aside from Beth Z's session that was talking about how to use technology to process your learning from the conference.
Oh, wow.
If technology got brought up, it was mostly about how we need to cut back on screen time and focus more, and which is all true. But it really wasn't in the direction of using technology and applying it to innovate the association's industries themselves.
Yeah.
That's so fascinating.
Were you there for the last keynotes this morning?
I was not. I had to come. I came back into Denver.
They had a Gen Z. I don't know, how old is Gen Z?
I saw somebody took a snapshot of the slide.
A kid and his father as the keynote, and they had this book about Generation Z. And I thought what was most fascinating about that talk, because I have kids about that age, right?
Okay,
both of my kids are about that age. And what I thought was most fascinating is they said, you make this assumption that Generation Z always wants to text, but we really do want face-to-face interaction. That is our preferred interaction. But that face-to-face interaction could be over FaceTime, it could be over Skype, it could be over Zoom. We're just as comfortable with that as we are texting or being here face-to-face with each other. It was a fun session.
How awesome. Well, what other sessions did you like? I know I had my favorites.
Tell me one.
I had some that I just absolutely loved. It's hard to pick one because I was in love with, I like have a lot of Woman Crush Wednesdays additions to like add.
Totally.
But Shimmy, like Dr. King, she was absolutely phenomenal. Mean James rocked my world. And Diana Kagan, she was so phenomenal.
What was hers?
So she was the Women's Executive Forum.
Oh, I missed that.
Okay. Brilliant.
Really?
Funny, smart. She was so good. And I was originally not signed up to go to that. I was exhausted by the time it rolled around.
Yeah.
I'm telling you. Okay. So if I can say something that is definitely a takeaway I had, I will definitely participate in that program again.
That's good to hear.
Yes.
Because I wasn't sure.
Yes.
So I chose the foundation
It
core.
was about, I mean, it was called, what did they call it? They called it something about using curiosity to like open your hymnals. It was like using curiosity as for your competitive edge. Yeah. Embrace curiosity as the ultimate competitive advantage. And it was, it said Kagan. It's Diana Candor. Oh my gosh. It was so good. And honestly, when we talk in a year from now, it's very possible that could have transformed my business.
Oh, wow. Oh, that's huge.
Yeah.
I'm sorry I missed that.
Yeah.
What was I doing at that time?
She was a great mix of, she was interesting. Like, I love that. Interesting, but she, smart, focused, giving you enough of a challenge, pushing back on you enough to make you answer hard questions, but helping you come up with the right questions to ask.
Oh, I love that.
Right?
Yeah.
And it was just, no fluff. There was no fluff there.
You know where I found that? Where? In my learning circle.
Okay.
Kiki convinced me to do this.
And
yes.
Then I couldn't do it. And then I couldn't do it, but you did. Okay.
And so there was this woman.
Well, explain what a learning circle is.
Oh.
Yeah.
Okay. I think I can.
Okay. I believe you.
Let me channel Peggy. Let me channel Peggy.
Channel Peggy.
So a learning circle is what they did is they took groups of 7, 8 people, and they and you would meet in between sessions. So we met at lunch, and we would share what we learned at each session we went to. So if I couldn't go to the women's session, right? Well, what did you learn? Tell me about it.
Oh, wow.
But what I liked about this group of people that I had, there was one woman, what was her name? I literally want to be friends with this woman. She was a badass. Can I say ass? Sorry.
Yeah. Welcome to Association Chat.
Anything
goes. No. You can't say that.
So she, but it was a group of people that it was a provocative conversation. There was no, well, I went to this session and it was nice and it was good. People asked hard questions, right? And we delved into really tough problems. And there was this one guy there, he was young, and he ended up in my session, and he was a little bit, what do I want to say? He was just he thought so differently than everybody else. He was so smart. He would say something and everybody would be like, you just cut to the chase there. It was very, very simple. He made it all very simple. It was wonderful.
What a brilliant, and I think this is the second time that they've done these, right? Peggy Hoffman was telling us the story, I know, about how the learning circles got started. And now they're incorporating them into the program, which I think is amazing. But the concept, I mean, like, how often do you go to a conference and you just, you're sitting in this thing, you're missing that.
You're wondering what you're missing in the other thing.
But you know what I love about that is that even if you're just sitting there and you're just sharing what it is you learned, there's processing that's going in the sharing.
Yeah.
And being able to hear that, maybe there was something that you weren't particularly interested in, but then the way that somebody else interpreted it, you discovered you were. I just think there's so much good that can come from that kind of thing. So I'm really happy to hear that.
It was great.
I want to participate.
It was probably the most valuable. For me as a first-time attendee, I found it, it was probably the most valuable thing for me there at that conference.
Yeah.
And I only met with them once, mind you.
Really?
So, yeah, I only met with them once.
So once, and it was the most valuable thing. That's interesting to hear.
Yeah, it was really great. It was a great group.
Okay, so what about takeaways? Like, were there any brilliant lessons?
I loved Mike. What is Mike's? Here, I can tell you. Mike, he had a session. I loved this session. Okay. It was on, here, I'm opening the Bible.
I know, we're opening our conference Bible.
It was From Wicked Problems to Breakthrough Innovations, the Skill of Reframing. And what he did is, did you attend this?
I did not.
It was so good because it was such a simple concept, but it was reframing what seemed like an unsurmountable challenge into an opportunity. And I thought what was interesting is there was a very smart woman at my table whose whose professional society, their major pipeline was students. And like many associations, her challenge was, how are we going to recruit young people into associations when they won't read our emails, they don't follow us on social media, we don't know how to get a hold of them. And yet this is the future this is our lifeblood, right? Like we were really depending on these people. And she did an excellent job of following the session instructions and taking that challenge and turning it into an opportunity statement, which then opened up possibilities for innovative ideas. I thought it was such a simple concept, but it was really, really powerful walking away.
You know, speaking of a simple concept, but unlocking it in a different way, it's when Shimmy King, I just have to go back to that.
So much about her, yeah.
Well, you know, okay, so pretend like you're a speaker. All right, it started out where there were issues with the AV, and so sometimes it would glitch a little bit at the beginning of the keynote, and they were trying to work on the slides. Okay, so people got rattled, but they got over it. Fine. She gets into the breakout session, and there's a significant problem. The slides will not come up. They don't come up, Tracy, for like 30 minutes. It's like I look down, I'm like, this is half of the session. But do you know, she did not miss a beat. She gave them a chance, and when it looked like it was going to take away from the time of the session, she did the smartest thing. She opened it up. She said, you know what? People have a lot of questions from probably what was discussed at the keynote. What are some of the questions you have on what we talked about earlier? And one person raised their hand, and it went on from there. She honestly could have done the entire thing, the entire breakout, just extemporaneously answering questions. Like, it was fascinating. People loved it.
Raving about that.
Well, it was brilliant. And when they finally got the slides up, she went ahead and was able to reference them and work them in. I mean, absolutely amazing. And I was wildly impressed by her. But I was also, I mean,
she was play, right? The concept of play.
She was the concept of play. And she talked about how, you know, even dolphins, the way that they're different from sharks and jellyfish, and the way that dolphins, you know, work together, the way that they collaborate, the way that they're flexible but firm, you know. That was something she brought up in the breakout. But immediately, the very next day, I started applying some of the things she taught, which is one of the things that everybody can learn from this is we operate from two different nervous systems, the parasympathetic and the sympathetic. And when you're working and you're on your phone or you're highly stressed, a lot of times you don't realize it, but you're tense, you are breathing shallowly, you're not breathing very well, and your body is in this state of kind of fight or flight and survival mode in this other, you know, in this one particular system. And the way to fast track out of it, because that was my thing. How do you fast track and get out of it? Because you can't be creative or innovative.
I think I've lived years in that state.
Right. No,
right.
Especially if you have your own business. You're like, ah! But anybody, right? Especially now. And what was interesting is that she answered the question. She said, basically, deep breathing. You know, there are three things that we all need to be in the best state for innovation and creativity. But the fastest way that you can get from one to the other is to stop and take deep breaths.
Isn't that interesting? Kind of back to the meditation thing.
Yeah, she said
right?
It takes 3 minutes actually to really get fully moved from one to the other. But, you know, I thought about it, and my watch, you know, my smartwatch, it will remind me to breathe occasionally. It's only for 1 minute. And it's funny how often I find that I think I'm too busy to even stop for a minute.
To stop to breathe.
To take deep breaths.
Yeah.
A lot of the guys back there probably have no problem believing that I'm not breathing. They're like, you've been brain dead this whole time. I have no problem believing that. Yeah? Yes? No.
They're nodding.
They're like, okay. So, and there was waving back there. So like, me too. That was one of my big takeaways. I was curious about your session. So what was it that you covered in your particular session?
Oh, okay. So my session, I really wanted to focus on, I actually rewrote it a little bit prior to coming, because I realized that, you know, I've spent 21 years running a business and running multidisciplinary teams. And, you know, along the way, you learn the hard way.
I'm familiar with learning the hard
way. People like me learn the hard way.
And I'm familiar with that.
And so I just, you know, I really wanted to share the tools and tips that I have been desperate to learn over the last years on how to get the best from individuals and the best from teams. So if you're in an environment, well, you've worked with us, right? We try to gather as much information as we can about a client and where they're at. And then, our job is to do some ideation on their behalf, which you're very good at.
Thank you.
Very, very good at.
See, this is a bonus to this, is that we have worked together, so you can brag on this.
And we did I presented the Kill the Company exercise, which Kiki and I have done together.
That is true. You're telling all of our secrets.
I know.
Yes.
So the session was about how do you get the best from individuals? Maybe somebody who is scared of conflict. Reasons why people don't give their ideas. Maybe as an organization, ideas haven't been followed up on before, and so nobody feels motivated to there's no trust there.
And that,
which is huge. And so there's a exercise this was my favorite, maybe my second favorite exercise that we talked about, which is it's by Lisa Bodell, who wrote Future Think, Kill the Company.
Yes.
And it's called Kill a Stupid Rule.
Kill a stupid
rule. And I think I've done it in my own companies, and it's been, you can only do it if you're willing to kill a rule on the spot. So you get do we have time can I tell you this?
Yeah, let's do it. Let's do it. Yes.
Okay.
Yes.
I'll do it very quickly.
This is so fun.
So you take, you get, your team in a room, and you give them 10 minutes, and you say, I want you to write down every single thing that, every rule that you want to kill today, something that's blocking your progress, right? And it generally ends up not being rules, but processes or procedures, or just like
the paperwork.
All those things that we think are important that may not be important. And so you give them 10 minutes, and people will have a lot in even the best organizations. And then at the end of 10 minutes, you say, okay, pick the stupid rule that you want to kill most. What's going to help you? If we got rid of it today, what would help the organization most? If we quit doing it? It's really an exercise in what not to do, right?
Right.
So then have them put on a sticky note, put it on a chart. And let me see if I can remember this. The matrix is, how easy is the rule to implement? Can we get rid of it with ease today, or is it going to be difficult to get rid of it? So that's the first thing. And then what's the impact on the organization? Is it going to be high impact or low impact? So if you end up with rules, and you will, that are if you got rid of them, would be high impact and easy to implement. Those are rules that on the spot, as a leader, you can say, okay, we're going to quit doing this today.
Okay.
And it builds trust.
That's so interesting.
It creates efficiencies.
Yeah.
It's, I just love it. I think it's just so simple.
I feel like I could apply that to my life, I feel so we make resolutions, but I make rules. So if I make it a rule, I find that I tend to follow it better. Like my rule is I'm not drinking alcohol for 2019, which by the way is not a fun rule, but it's just a rule
that you're dedicated.
But I call it a rule and not a resolution, goal, whatever, because for me that just means I don't that. That's just
really interesting.
Yeah.
So what rules are holding you back from being more productive?
Holding you back from being more productive?
Well, we should do that.
Interesting. Yeah. I keep saying I'm
going to do that on the airplane.
Well, thanks for sharing that.
Yeah.
It
was fun.
I bet. So I have to thank you for joining me and sharing your takeaways. Is there anything else that we didn't cover that you think is an important thing to say? One thing that needs to be said is the Broadmoor is amazing.
Oh my gosh.
Okay.
Can I just tell you, it's the little things. Can I just, there was this.
Yes.
So when you're at the Broadmoor, I should be embarrassed to say, I love fancy hotels, and I've been to a lot, right? But the Broadmoor, you know how they have the little, the lights outside the room, right? I need housekeeping, I need privacy, rather than just putting paper on the door. I am so thrilled every time I get to press one of those buttons. I think it's the coolest thing.
How does it make you feel when
it makes me feel, yes, exactly.
Yeah.
How does it make me feel? It makes me feel like nobody's going to walk in my room in the middle of the night. Have you ever had that happen?
Yes.
Yes, it's terrifying.
Yeah.
It makes me feel safe.
It makes you feel safe. And there's also, for me anyway, I feel catered to.
Yes.
Yes. Like I am selecting, and this is how it is.
Yes, this is my choice, and you are going to honor it.
Yeah.
And I'm not going to have to worry about a paper falling off the door.
That's such a great point. I'm glad you brought that up.
It's very innovative.
Yeah.
It was the most innovative thing I ran into.
I do love great ideas, and I know that I know that the way they're trying to shift different things, they're always trying new things, and it's hard to cover a topic like innovation. I knew when they were going to try to do this that it was going to be hard because we all need it. Mm-hmm. All associations, like it doesn't matter. Every industry is changing, and we're all looking at the best ways to do this and the best approaches. But what do you focus on? Yeah, it is a smaller conference than some of the others that they hold, which is good because it's intimate.
Yeah,
you have these great conversations, but how do you figure out what to leave out too? And maybe they decided the technology part, like that's going to be reserved for tech.
I loved it. I mean, while the tech was not there, and I was surprised only because it was my first time.
Yeah.
I definitely will be back.
Yes.
I mean, this is not a conference you go to and you think, oh, maybe I'll be back next time. You will want to come back.
This is a complicated thing to explain to people because if they've only been to larger conferences, because we have these mega conferences now that are like South by Southwest and C2 in Montreal, and it's like these mega conferences, massive, many days. There's no possible way you're going to see everybody there. This one, you're bumping into people regularly. You're like, it's a smaller one. It's intimate, and it is focused on creativity. And I knew when I came here that I was going to. It's surrounding all the topics I love.
Yeah.
Which means that it would probably be something that would be easy to be successful, but it also could be really easy to disappoint, right?
Yeah.
For people who love creativity and innovation.
Yes. Yeah, but it didn't do that.
It didn't do that.
Because everybody was so smart. I mean, there were a lot of really smart, forward-thinking people there.
Yeah, and the conversations were amazing. Mm-hmm. Okay, so thank you for being here. I do have to thank Image Audiovisual. I have to thank Event Waves. Image Audiovisual made it so that we are here sitting in Colorado behind us, even while it looks green to us as we sit here, and which is the magic. And there's going to be more that is coming from Association Chat and Boldr with Tracy in the future. And
I'm so curious myself.
Well, some of what we're talking about is I can't talk about it, but some of what we're talking about is really exciting, and we're going to figure out how to collaborate in exciting new ways in the future. Yes,
fun stuff.
Thank you for making your way here.
This was so fun.
Yay!
Thank you.
If you guys have questions or comments, I'll take a look at them after this live stream. We've got to go in and mingle because there's a meetup that's happening here live. And
I'm going to drink Kiki's wine for her.
It's a rule.
It's my job.
My rule is that Tracy drinks my wine. Yeah.
It's perfect.
Thank you. And if you're still seeing us, thank you. Yes. Are we good?